All right. Hi, guys. Very good afternoon. I hope you all can hear me. If you can hear me, could you please say a yes in the chat box?
Okay, so we are all set to begin with our today's webinar. A very warm welcome to all our participants present here today. Women in today's corporate world have made it to the board and have achieved a lot taking care of family and work in a beautifully balanced way. It's fourth day of Navratri, known as Kushmanda. Goddess Kushmanda is worshipped on Chaturthi, believed to be the creative power of the universe. Kushmanda is associated with the endowment of vegetation on earth. A true leader will fight all odds out and ensure the team triumphs. HRIA welcomes you all to the 2022 Dialogue Masterclass series on the topic Women Leaders of Today. To know more about HRAI and its events, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. Request all the participants to kindly follow the webinar guidelines mentioned in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback, so we'll be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all the participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Ms. Ridhima Wali, communication coach, founder and CEO at Naira Leadership Consulting. Ms. Ridhima has the expertise of grooming over 6,500 leaders across the context of manufacturing, retail, financial service firms, and insurance, among others. She is a multifaceted personality with corporate exposure as well as live anchoring, where she has engaged with the likes of Sohali Khan, Piyush Pandey, Farhan Akhtar, Andre Agassi. At the corporate level, she has engaged with CEO of the firms such as Deloitte, Adani Connex, Yota Infrastructure Solutions, Godrej, and Oriental Aromatics. In her stint at Naira Leadership Consulting, she enables leaders to express themselves with clarity, conviction, and confidence, thus enhancing their leadership potential. You can also follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. Without wasting much time, I now hand over the platform to Ms. Ridhima. Over to you, Ms. Ridhima.
Hey, Pooja, I was not able to unmute myself, so I was pressing on it again and again. All right. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm not able to hear you. You're on mute, Pooja.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. The participants out there, please give a thumbs up or say hello, good afternoon, if you guys can hear me, so that we are sure that you're around. So could you all say yes, if you can hear me? Lovely. I'm seeing hi, Sandra. Hi, Peterson. Hi, Vanita. Hi, Deep. Hi, Chirag. Lovely. I think you all can hear me. So, guys, what I have today for all of you is not really a lot of mythological gyan on what Navratri is all about. What my intention is to reiterate that the spirit of Navratri is more than mythology or more than some ritual. It is actually the spirit of women in the form of goddess, and how women from time immemorial, even if they are goddess, have had to prove themselves, have had to demonstrate a lot of patience for what they already could get. And at the end of the day, how their persistent attempts to get things done actually gave them the power. Their power was not in their ability to have this telepathic ability to move from one place to the other, or to come on an animal as it is shown in a lot of movies, and what we've been witnessing from childhood and immemorial times. But what I'm trying to say is how they patiently have waited for their turn to come. And it is this patience, it is this perseverance which actually acts as their superpower. So before I start, I'd like to ask you all a question. And like I said, I want to keep this very interactive because look, I'm a leadership consultant expert. I know about Navratra. What I'm good at is bringing stories to the fore. So, what I want to ask you all right now, right here, right now, is what is that one quality of women that you admire the most? Now, it can be related to Navratri, it can be not related to Navratri, completely your choice, but I want some responses in the chat box. So, if you all could please put in your responses in the chat box, that would be really, really helpful. My question is, which is that one or two qualities, not five qualities, not 10 qualities, one or two qualities in women that you think are enviable, that you really admire, you really draw your inspiration from? So it could be patience, it could be perseverance, whatever comes to your mind, please put it in the chat box. So I'm waiting for your responses. Guys, I hope you got the question. What are those qualities and attributes in women that you really find enviable, that you really like, that you really think are very rare, that men can't replicate that? So Rohit is saying endurance. Tushar is saying empathetic. Okay. I'm waiting for more responses. Yes, endurance is there. Empathy is definitely there. Anything else that's crossing your mind, guys? Please. Tushar, I completely agree. Crisis management is the core strength of women. I would not say men don't have that, but I think women have more poised to handle crisis. So, any more responses? Please put it in the chat box. I'm getting a response from Neha saying that their ownership matters. Vanita is saying they're powerful. So I think powerful is also one of the attribute. Okay, I'll give it a benefit of doubt. But ownership, endurance, empathetic, crisis management. Now, these are wonderful responses, guys, because as I give you some significance of each day, you will realize that how the different now 9 days, the now Durga, as we say, represents some of these attributes in some way or the other. I really love this answer by Manish, ownership, making sure that whatever they promise, they make sure that they take it to the very end. Now, I've been told that the entire theme is that I get to tell you all the significance of Navratri, but I'm not going to get you in the significance of Navratri just now. I'm going to ask you a few questions. So, Tanvi, if I can request you to share the slide. And in those questions, you will see a roop of Durga, a roop of Mata Rani. And the theme that we have chosen is empowering women this Navratri. You have to tell me that which is that day, what is that Shakti or that roop of Mata Rani it is called. So I want you to tell me the exact term. So guys, are you ready? Give me a heads up. So you have to tell me day one. This is the goddess that you see, or this is one roop of Durga that you see. Which roop is this? Guys, I know it's unexpected googly that I'm throwing on you right now, but any responses will help because, like I said, I don't want to make it a boring monologuish kind of a conversation. So if you have any responses, please, you can type it in the chat box. I'll wait like 5, 4, 3. I'm doing very slowly, 2, 2.5, waiting for all of you. You can put in your responses or I'll reveal the answer. Okay. So considering I think we are a little low on the, what you say, knowledge front, because it's either that you're not able to find the answer, you're not listening to me, your internet is not good. Okay, so Vanita and Bhavna are saying Shail Putri. So is that the right answer? We'll get to know. Shail Putri. Ma Shail Putri is the right answer. Now I want you to please write down somewhere while making notes the qualities which are associated, the different incarnations forms of goddess Durga. Now, Shailputri is actually known for Navratri because she was dedicated to compassion and strength, courage, composure. So, courage, composure, and strength are some of the qualities of this form of Ma Durga. She is the daughter of Himalayas and is also considered the better half of Lord Shiva. And like I said, we have to learn this entire concept through the power of metaphors. Now, considering she's the daughter of Himalayas, Himalayas is this giant, huge structure which is synonymous with patience, which is synonymous with grandeur. I mean, it's huge. It is grounded and yet it is full of energy. Now, why I'm requesting you all to, to pen down these qualities is because in the subsequent slides, you will see how some of the entrepreneurs, no matter what grand background they come from, they have the patience, they have the perseverance to start anew. So this is wonderful. I think you guys are getting the spirit of it. Shail Putri is the right answer. We're going to see 2 to 3 more answers, questions, and then we'll begin. So can we have the next slide? Okay, could you guess this is another form of Ma Durga? Which form is this and what is the answer? Please type in your responses in the chat box. Like I said, 9 incarnation, 9 forms. And I really want you to dwell on the qualities because, like I said, Shail Putri is considered the daughter of Himalaya, better half of Shiva. And yet, throughout her life, she had to face many challenges. I'm not going to get into the specifics here and the stories here, but I want us to focus on the qualities. So, I think Bhavna is saying Brahmcharini. And guys, I'll wait for your responses. What is the correct answer? Please put in how many of you think it is Brahmcharini. Please put your answers in the chat box. Okay, I think Bhavna, Vanita is so. I think Bhavna and Vanita, you guys are the only people who are keeping the 9 days vrat and knowing all of this. But Brahmcharini is the right answer. Now, guys, again, I want to reiterate that we are not really focused on giving you education on Navratri. We are here to make you remember the qualities, the attributes that uh, even a goddess had to demonstrate. Now, Brahmcharini is said to have spent many years in penance to please Lord Shiva. Now, she didn't have to, she was already powerful. But at this one point in the story, she does something wrong, which angers Lord Shiva. And as you all know how moody Lord Shiva used to be, she actually had to bear the penance of doing 1,000 years of meditation. Now, what I'm trying to say here is she had power. She could have won Lord Shiva through power, but she actually chose the path of patience, dedication, and showing that it's not words that matter, it's not power that matter, it's the action that counts. So Brahmacharini is associated with patience, power, and a lot of dedication. Now, again, guys, I'd like to reiterate at this point that while we were speaking about Ma Shailpuri, and now we're talking about Shailpuri, and now we're talking about Ma Brahmcharini, we're not really talking as much about the mythology part of it. We are really pondering on the quality part of it. So Ma Brahmcharini, though she had a lot of power, though she could have used her power to influence Shiva, Lord Shiva, she actually chose the path of dedication, patience, and actually believed in action rather than only words. So we'll take 2 more and then we'll come to the mainstream. Guys, any responses on this? Which is the form of goddess that you see here? Please put in your responses in the chat box. Come on, guys, let's not make it boring. Let's make it interesting. Let's make it interactive, and let's ensure that whatever roop, form, avatar, incarnation that we're talking about, as much as we remember the qualities, we attempt to remember few of the names also. So this is another form that we see very frequently. So it is the answer they're saying is Chandraghata. It is the right answer indeed. Now, for Chandraghata, the biggest advantage or the biggest weapon or the biggest strength that she brought Ma Chandraghanta brought to the table was that she was considered to be a powerhouse of knowledge. So she had the knowledge of scriptures, of demons, of material life, spiritual life. So even if you go to the mythology part of it, she's considered to be a goddess of knowledge. And it is based on the premise that no matter how much wealth you amass in life, knowledge still remains a pivotal weapon. And your weapon is not only the trishul or the other repertoire of weapons you see in the picture, but it's actually the weapon of knowledge. And now, why I'm saying is weapon of knowledge is because the story that we are going to hear about the entrepreneur, about the woman trailblazer, that pioneering personality is actually based on a lot of knowledge. Okay, we'll take one more before we move ahead to the actual set of stories. Okay, so I think somehow our slide has got stuck. Yeah, you have revealed the answer to. Guys, the answer came for a little while, but the next answer, as you say, after Chandragata, is could you please share the answer? Isma Khushmanda. Again, she is considered to be the mother of Skanda or Kartike, the god of war. And her picture and her strength was really that when the time came, when the crisis came, not only she was able to get all the weapons, but she was also able to get teams when the time for the war came, action came. And while she believed in war, attacking the enemy, she also taught her disciples, the people who followed her, benevolence and empathy. So she's considered in the mythology as a little bit of a paradox, because on one side, we're talking about war, and on the other side, we are talking about empathy and benevolence. Now, why is it that we did this kind of activity? Is basically to again reiterate and reinforce this part that we are also part of God, and some of the qualities that they have exhibited in gazillion infinite proportion, they have also gifted it to us. And there are some stories that in time, since time immemorial, which unfold, which actually remind us of some of the qualities, some of the attributes, some of these things, features that we see even goddesses exhibiting. So now what I'd like to do is to move on to the first story. And I want to go really quickly on in those stories and then come back to the quiz of figuring out who is what in terms of the quiz. But I want to actually now focus on the stories. So here is the first story, which is of, like I said, what we've done is we've taken one women influencer's trailblazer and equated it to the different forms across the 9 days of Ma Durga. Now, the first picture that you see here, I'm not going to ask you in the chat box who it is, but please, I think every person should know it. It's the first, she's actually Mary Kom, and she's the first Indian boxer to win a gold medal in Asian Games in 2014 at Incheon, South Korea. Now, why are we saying that she reminds us of Shail Putri, Shail means mountain, Himalaya, and Putri means daughter. So daughter of mountain is Shail Putri. Now, why we are saying that she represents that strength, I don't know how many of you know it, but she actually comes from a below poverty line kind of a background. She didn't have money to afford milk. So there was actually a family friend who used to walk 5 miles every day to provide milk for her practice. And she chose a sport, boxing, which was essentially male dominated. And not a lot of people know this, but there has been an anecdote, and even in her interviews, she said she was actually fighting a boxing ringing match. And while she was in the ring, she took a break in between, and her husband was calling frantically that, your son is not doing well. Please return as soon as you come back, as soon as you get done. And she said that, at that point, I had a choice. I had a choice to leave that career defining match and go back to my son. But she said, I decided to kind of persevere and not go away from that match, because she said, Had I decided to leave that match for my son only because of that reason, it would give a messaging to all the working class women or to all those women from those tier 2, tier 3 cities, that somewhere that the primary nurturer of a kid is only a mother. And that's not the only thing we're here to do. So she said, I don't know how I gathered the strength to tell my husband that why don't you manage the sun for the next half an hour? I'm going to come back in an hour, but I got to complete that match. And that led to a lot of marital discord, and she was able to slide through it. But the point I'm trying to make is going back to the same strengths that we're talking about: courage, strength, composure, full of energy, down to earth. I think Mary Kom represents all those attributes, because it's not easy to come from some place in Manipur or Assam, in those downtrodden areas, and make it on the landscape of Olympics. And like I said, it's not only that Olympics only matter, it's the struggle, it's the fret, it's the rejections that you face even from your family members who say, despite your conviction, this is not meant for you because of your gender. So for me, in my personal experience, Ma Shail Putri is a resonance of Mary Kom. And I think if one thing we can take away from this simple story of, like I said, is the power of choices. There'll be time, and this is for men and women both, that your family would expect you to make a certain choice based on your gender. It could be moving to another place because your husband or your spouse is shifting. It could be becoming a full-time caretaker. And I'm saying none of those are wrong choices to make. Make it if you want, but don't make it purely because you're a woman. Have the courage and audacity to make those choices. So now, based on this, let's move to the next slide. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of this woman, but if you're not, if you are already aware about her, read more about her. If you're not aware about her, go to Instagram, go to Google. I think you will get plenty to know about her. Now, like I said, that this is the the Air Force pilot, and we are equating it, not Air Force pilot, just a pilot, my bad, pilot. We're equating her to Ma Brahmachari. Now, as I said before, that Ma Brahmachari was someone who actually endured 1,000 years of penance because she wanted to please Lord Shiva because of a mistake that she had done that really irked Lord Shiva, and he asked her to leave. Now, some may say that this is very regressive. I do agree. A woman doesn't need to please a man by doing meditation for 1,000 years. But the point I'm trying to make is Ma Brahmachari had a lot of power. She was gifted with a lot of boon. But despite that, she didn't choose to use that power or authority to influence Lord Shiva. She wanted to show her sincerity by actually acting on it. And that action was the 1,000 years of penance. Now, why am I saying that this is equated to Zoya Agarwal is because she actually comes from an influential family. She was married off to an influential family. She had uh, the freedom and the choice to actually pursue the family business that was given to her. But after marriage, after a child, she decided to go on a path of her own. And that path was to become a pilot. And not only did she become a pilot, she became actually the first Indian female pilot to fly above the North Pole with a all woman crew. And she actually made her history by cementing her place in SFO Aviation Museum also. So the first woman pilot to actually fly over a North Pole, for which is not a very easy terrain. Not a lot of pilots have taken that terrain, but the first Indian woman to actually charter the entire course with all women crew. I think that talks gazillion impressions about the kind of woman she is. Now, if you look at some of her interviews, again she goes back to the same thing, that there are two types of women or two types of people: one who not come from very influential backgrounds, one who do come from influential background. She said the pressure to not work or to pressure to not create a mark of your own is equally on both sets of people. She happened to be from a good family, she was married onto a good family, she had a son, and yet something in her urged her to create her own identity. And this was not to prove anything to anyone, but it was actually to prove to herself that she has this strength, which is the strength of making a big name in a completely male dominated arena, which is called becoming a pilot. And she said, I didn't even do it to prove to my male counterparts that I was great. I did it because when I fly, I feel like I'm on top of the world. So my submission to all of you is that, how many times does it happen that you pursue a goal or you do something to prove something to the world, or you're doing something because somebody told you that it won't be possible for you? I think it's high time that we as women start moving away from proving something. Maybe it could be your father, your mother, your brother, or something. Stop proving something to others and start living for yourself. Because the moment you'll start living, you'll start making those choices which are aligned to your deepest passion. You will not make a choice to have a proof of concept to someone. You will do it for you. And when you do things for you, 9 out of 10 times you'll feel that you will find a reasonable amount of success. I remember in one of the interviews, she was asked that, you have a son who is 4, how do you manage? She said, I just ensure that I have a great nanny and my husband takes the mandatory off to look after the son. And these are conversations which are very important to have, guys. Whether you're a single mother, whether you don't have you don't have a husband, or for some choice you decide to have a child, not to have a child, whatever, that's your personal reason, or you have a parent that you have to take care of, you can all make choices to make sure that you give time for yourself. So again, my intent here is to give you three perspectives, not even to give you, to rather share my perspectives with all of you, that we have a goddess Brahmachari. She has some qualities. We have some influencers who have shown these qualities. Now, we don't have to get impressed by what these influencers show or not show. What we have to remember is that from their story, from the story of Zoya Agarwal, who became the first Indian woman to fly over the North Pole in a very strenuous terrain, what can we do that can become a first time for us? That's the question I want you to entertain. Now, moving on, let's move to our next slide. I'm sure 9 out of 10 people, whether they are men or women, they have actually bought products from this portal called Nika. And Nika, if you think about it, it has not been around for like a gazillion years. I think it started almost 2012, 2013-ish. It's been almost a decade in the industry. But the founder, the CEO, Falguni Nair, who I associated with Ma Siddhi Datri, because, like I said, Ma Siddhi is a goddess of wisdom, power, and a lot of grace. And whatever she blesses people, it turns into success. Now, why I'm saying all of this for Miss Falguni Nair is, she was actually having a very successful career stint at Kotak Mahindra Bank. Now, this is the story where I want you to just keep in mind that there is no perfect age for chasing your own dream. There is no perfect age for becoming an entrepreneur. There is no perfect age to become self employed. Now, this woman, after she retired from Kotak, after she sent her kids to college, she had a lot of free time. But she had financial acumen. She had an acumen of doing business. She had worked in a huge organization where work was done on scale, scope, complexity. She knew all of that. She had a choice to bask in her comfort zone, really enjoy her retirement span because she had earned it. But at that point, she actually chose to start anew, to start afresh. Now, in 2011 or 2012, she set up Nika because she was sure about one thing, that I have business acumen and I love makeup, I love cosmetics. And I see that there's a huge gap between customers and affordable cosmetics. And with this simple concept and this simple insight, she started Nika. She herself says that her husband was questioning her very choice. Her children said, Mom, why don't you chill? Why don't you take a retirement? You've been working for such a long time. I think you should really pause, enjoy, come for holidays. And she said, not that they disapproved me of doing this, but she said they did discourage me. And for a moment, even I felt that, I've had such a successful stint at Kotak, being the investment banking head. What if I fail? But that's the very thought that actually encouraged me to start Nika, because I asked myself, even if I fail, I don't have a promotion to lose. I don't have a termination. Nobody's going to ask me that, you know what, Falguni, terrible run, you were not good, you're being asked to leave. So she said, actually, at 59, I felt I was 15 again. And I decided that I'll take the plunge and create Nika. And as you all know, Nika's IPO was one of the largest IPO in India. They've got Katrina Kaif. They have more than 50,000 retailers on its platform. And I'm not even going to get into the billion or the $1 million or the valuation, because I think numbers eventually follow. What matters is the intent of the person. And I think for me, the intent of Falguni was really to start anew at an age when people decide to consider early retirement. So there is wisdom, there is a sense of security that it's okay. I will not worry even if I fail. And she had the choice to actually get investors even from Kotak Mahindra Bank. She said that I had the choice, that I could ask some benefactor from Kotak Mahindra to come and be as an investor. But she said, if I would have done that route, I would have then again become a glorified employee. And I just wanted to go all in. Now, the point I'm trying to make is, guys, we all are in a lush, cushion filled job, and it's okay to have that. But do you have a parallel idea which you may not have to work on today, but maybe you can start working on it once you decide to take a sabbatical, if you're too bored of your job, or if you want to start your entrepreneurship journey? Now, I know this as a forum is supposed to tell you that how potent human resources are, and how you can actually leverage human resources as a realm for business impact. But guys, imagine, as human resources, we have access to so many people, so many story. We come across so many employees who come to you for advice, for those talent development related conversations, for those escalations during the review times, the PMS times. So think about how you can use all these experiences to create an idea. And nobody is asking you to leave your jobs to implement that idea, by the way. But can you actually figure out a way to use your experience, use your expertise to work on an idea that nobody expected from you? And you, not only you worked on that idea, you actually delivered. So start entertaining this idea, because from an investment banker, she is spearheading one of the largest beauty retail portal called Nika. So don't let your current experience limit you. Let your current experience empower you. That's the pivot that I want to leave you with. Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, like I had told you, Ma Chandraghanta is is an epitome, is a repertoire, a reservoir of knowledge and tranquility at the same time. And though we said that, these weapons that you see, the bows, the arrows, symbolic of the lion that she comes on, they're all symbolic, they're all metaphoric in nature. Actually, her biggest weapon has always been her knowledge. But I would say there is humility in knowledge. A lot of times, what happens is, as we start amassing a lot of knowledge, we also start very unconsciously developing a sense of entitlement, a sense of arrogance with that knowledge. We start to feel that if you're able to amass this much knowledge, we should not give this knowledge to someone else. We should hold this knowledge to ourselves, because if we give it to someone else, they will kind of steal that knowledge from us. And it is not a woman centric problem. I'm saying in general. Now, why Ma Chandrakanta used to differ from others is because she actually went on to spread this knowledge. And now, why am I saying all this story in the context of Maithili Raj? As you know, she has been the Indian cricketer and the captain of the Indian team also. But do you know that she, after attending her school, she really didn't sit down at once and said, okay, I'm having a good schooling at Secunderabad and I'm going to have a good time. She used to actually start practicing after her homework. Now, please understand, we're talking about a time when cricket had become mainstream, but women in cricket was still not a very mainstream concept. So every time after school, she used to practice. She used to make sure she gets her shots right. There are interviews where she's saying that my hands used to start bleeding because I used to try bowling with different balls for 5, 6 hours straight. And she said that I endured all that pain because I wanted to see not Sachin Tendulkar, not Rahul Dravid making that score and we all giving standing ovation, because nobody said that a sport could have a gender. I wanted to be the person to take that mainstream attention. Now, why I'm saying all of this is, guys, a very secure childhood, going to school. But as children, there is always an advantage. We are never afraid to dream. She just entertained this idea that can I become a cricketer without thinking कि वो male dominated है, वो female dominated है. All she did was 8 hours of practice, going to the playground, playing ball, playing with bat, and ensuring that even if she hurts herself in the process, it's fine, because she wanted to amass knowledge of that field without this thing that whether I'll become a cricketer or not, though her intention were that. Now, why I'm talking about knowledge, composure, and eventually success is, a lot of times I've seen in the corporate world, and especially I think again it is irrespective of the gender, is we kind of sit on the same knowledge. So the question I want to leave with all of you is that apart from your human resource domain, apart from whatever your domain is, whether it's human resource or something else, what other field or what other arenas you're building your knowledge on? Please understand that, like it's been said, that data is the new oil. That way, knowledge is going to be the new driver for your relevance. It is not merely important to know what compensation benefit is, to know what recruitment is. Are you aware about data analytics and recruitment? Are you aware about AI based interviews, even not applied in your organization or businesses right now? But do you even have the awareness about it? And if you have the knowledge, what are you doing about that knowledge in terms of proliferating it? Now, Maithili Raj has been very fondly known to spread this knowledge and build an entire cricket team based on that. So, what are you doing to spread that knowledge that you have? Okay. I'm going to take the next 5 to 7 minutes and then I want questions. I'm not going to cover the entire slide because, like I said, I want this conversation to be highly generated on question and answer rather than a monologue. Can we have the next slide, please? Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of her, but Kamiya Jani is actually the curator who has come up with Curly Tales. Now, again, I don't know if you are aware of Curly Tales, but it's a channel that gives you high profile content on daily life, on food, and you will see a lot of celebrities coming on Curly Tales and sharing their joy of food. She has been able to get Lucky Ali, Ranbir Kapoor, Alia Bhatt, to name a few. All she knew was that she was a traveler. She'd gone to 38 countries. She didn't get good food, and she started making these travel logs about her experiences in different countries. And once she came back from her 38 globe-trotted country visit, she came back to India and she said, I'm going to create a content to actually talk about what food people like. And she started this endeavor called Curly Tales. It's viral on Instagram. You will see a lot of celebrities coming and sharing their view about what they like, what they don't like. And it's a restaurant also where people get served their favorite food. Now, imagine we are talking about the likes of Ranbir Kapoor, we're talking about the likes of Alia Bhatt coming for her page. Now, why I'm really talking about her is in the thing of Devi Mahagauri, who is known for a sense of joy, for a sense of calm, and a sense of happiness. She actually left her high paying media job to set up the restaurant and bring her love for food and bring her love for traveling together in the form of this YouTube show called The Curly Tales. And it's a restaurant. I don't know the exact location of this place, but I've seen plenty of its videos on Instagram and it has generated over 3 million views. So when she was interviewed, she was asked that, how did you come up with the idea of starting Curly Tales? She said, after working 10 years in a media job, after going through that much stress, I decided that I need something that gives me joy at the end of the day. Whether I make money or not is secondary. So I actually had thought that I'm going to take a break and do curly tails, set up this restaurant, ask my friends to manage it later. But I actually started enjoying this process. And it's not that Alia Bhatt came to her in the first go itself. She started with the videos where she was making the food, eating the food by herself, and uploading those vlogs till the time it started getting noticed and getting visibility. Now, well, I know we're talking about beauty, happiness, and joy, but at this point, I also want to tell you that a lot of times in our adulthood, we do work, but somewhere we miss the joy. And we somewhere miss the joy because we have this pressure that we need to be successful. I just want you to remind you of this smiling picture that you see of a person who is doing a very lush, successful media job that took her to 38 countries. She ate the food there and she found, I wish I had the access to know from people how the food tasted. And that experience in herself incited her to start Curly Tails. So, guys, my simple question to you is, like Mahagauri, like Devi Mahagauri, can we all incite the spirit within us where we're working for success, but more than success, let's work for joy. Because once we start working for joy, we actually start creating significance. I'll give you a simple example, and this is not to gloat or to give you like a show off kind of an example. I couldn't come to deliver this session, which I was supposed to do yesterday because of this medical emergency. And whatever happened at home, the thing is that I actually derive my joy, my true spa from delivering these sessions, from researching, from coming to forums like this. I immediately said, if yesterday was not possible, let's make it today. So the thing is, when you start seeing things from the lens of joy, it doesn't lead to stress. It leads to pure passion. So whenever next time you're feeling stressed, ask yourself, are you feeling a sense of joy? And the answer is that if you're feeling stressed out for a lot of number of days in a row, maybe it's time to do something different. What that different is, guys, you have to figure out for yourself. Yeah. Now, the next image that I want to show, or the next woman influencer that I want to show on my screen, may be known to some people, may not be known to some people. We actually started to get to know about her in the past 1 week itself when we were told that we have to deliver a program like this. So, and we have equated her to Skandamata. Her name is Pabiben Rabari. Now, she is a woman from the Kutch community. And as you know, that Kutch community in Gujarat is really known for Rabari embroidery, the embroidery that you see on what she's wearing. I think she's a fourth pass. She came from, again, a rural area, a below poverty line kind of a thing. She used to collect water in village for rupee one because she had to support her family. She didn't have a father figure in her family. Now, from there to creating one of the largest websites that creates authentic handicrafts and materials of Rabari, it is called Rabari, Rabari embroidery, and creating almost touching $1 million is not an easy feat, guys. So I'm talking about a person living or residing in Kutch in Gujarat in a remote area to creating this website, a fourth grader. So again, I don't want to be a gloaty person here to say, tell you guys, आप लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि मेरे को भी पूछना चाहिए मैं क्या कर रही हूँ life में. But the point I'm trying to elicit here is a lot of times we are the ones who put these self-limiting beliefs that I don't have the necessary expertise, certifications, education, or exposure to take the next leap of faith. And again, it comes from the place of fear of failure. But if I again go, and when I was going through the biography, when I was going through the site, she kept on saying that मेरे पास कुछ लूज करने के लिए था ही नहीं कि मैं लूज करती. तो वेबसाइट, वो वेबसाइट को वेबसाइट बोल के बोली, वेबसाइट नहीं भी होती तो मैं समझ ले जाती. मैं बंबई में लोगों को मिली, मैंने सोचा अच्छा इससे मैं अभी 2 लोगों को बेच रही हूँ, मैं 20,000 लोगों को बेच सकती हूँ. तो मेरा तो धंधे का आइडिया वहीं से शुरू हुआ. So sometimes all you need is simplicity and a little bit of foolhardy guts. And I think it's high time as women we start getting these foolhardy guts, because as one of the roop of Mata Rani, Skandamata, who is known for her warrior-like prowess, her intelligence, and her emotional stability, and yet having that empathy, I think she demonstrates that. And I'll go one last one because, like I promised, I would want some Q&A with all of you if that's possible. So let's take that one. Okay, the next one that you see in on your screen, I don't know if it is controversial or someone, but I was really intrigued by her story. She is Manjamma Jogathi. She is the first transgender chairperson of Karnataka Janpat Academy, and this year she was also awarded the Padma Shri for her folk dance and music. Now we are talking about transgender, guys, and it's not about in which gender we can bucket them in, but what is important to know is the amount of rejections, challenges that they have to face. And I think coming from there to actually creating a name for herself or himself in a global scale and winning a Padma Shri talks about that sometimes when you take a bet which is larger than proving something to people. One of the interviews, Jogathi talks about that again, when those rejections came, again, when people referred to me as Hijra, I decided if I only focus on the word Hijra, I may actually go down the path of discouraging a lot of aspirants. So I know it's not related to being a woman or a man, it's about related to being a human. When your aim to create significance for other is higher than your need for success, you create stories like this. And I think despite rejection, the fact that it's an of outcome of Padma Shri, you can imagine the kind of impact that Miss Miss Jogathi must have created. Now, the last one that I want to take is, uh, can we have the next slide, please? Is a very recent feat and something we're all proud of. I'm not going to really be going into detail. Our President of India, Droupadi Murmu, I know we call her a lot of things like she's from this caste, tribal lady, all of that. But forget the tribal part of it. See the entire career trajectory from some rural part to becoming the president of India must have not been easy. Getting those kind of education exposure and having this conviction that where I come from doesn't matter, what matters is where I will reach. So I think for me she represents the risk taking acumen, the fearlessness of Ma Kali. And the question I want to leave you with is, again, at a lot of times we as women have the tendency, the orientation, the inclination to tell ourselves, I don't come from that MBA college, or my colleague comes from tier one MBA college. I come from this region. This is something we see both in men and women, but it's more in women, which is putting yourself down. So, my submission to all of you would be forget where you come from. What matters is where you reach. So, with this context, I'm going to take a pause because I know time is pressing. There are a lot of slide deck, but I think I would rather like to take a check and dipstick from the audience. Do you have any questions? Do you have any observations? Please feel free to share before we wind up.
Yeah, so that was very interesting, Ms. Ritima. Before we move into the Q&A session, we will be initiating the poll. Request all participants to kindly share your feedback. While you're doing so, request all participants to kindly post their questions in the chat window.
Guys, please feel free to ask questions because I'm not a big fan of the virtual meetings, but just to make sure I get a sense that you guys are around, please feel free to ask the questions because this was simply curated for you. If you don't have any questions, either you guys were thinking about lunch or I did a good job of explaining what I wanted to explain. So please feel free.
So, Ms. Ritima, we have received a few questions while registrations. So,
Okay.
Yeah, let's go with that. First question is, being a woman leader, what competitive edge we have over the men leaders?
Competitive edge in terms of edge we have, right? Competitive edge.
Over the men leaders.
I think the first thing is our sheer sense of empathy. Biologically, the kind of hormones men have, and I'm talking about biology, forget the logic part of it. Uh, the kind of hormones that we have, it actually makes us naturally more empathetic than men. Now, I'm not saying men are not empathetic. I'm saying on a relative scale. So, Pooja, my answer to your question would be our ability to empathize, our ability to perceive, and as well as we are very sincere when it comes to learning and amassing new skills. So, I think our sincerity sometimes outshines the smartness of men, if I have to put it in a very simple terms. Again, not very gender specific, but I'm saying by and large, these are the trends that I've seen.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Second question is with respect to modern organizations and the kind of a leadership needed in the current time, how women can prepare themselves for a leadership role.
I think my strong recommendation would be seek leadership roles and prove to people you can do it. Now, what I mean by this is, see, there's a book by Sally Helgesen called How Women Rise, in which she has actually stated that one of the reasons that why women don't do good at workplace is we have this strong belief that मैं काम करूंगा और मेरा काम मेरे लिए बात करेगा. Let me work and let my work speak for myself. And then 5 years down the line, you figure out you just got one promotion while the male counterpart has got four. It's not because he's smarter, huh, guys, or could be, but most of the time it is because that person is able to create excitement, create that noise around his work. He's able to tell people that I know my job, I do my job well, and these are the results. So I think women need to take more shots at the goalpost and tell people that they know their job, they do well, and talk about their initiatives very proactively. Please know, and this is coming from research after consulting with more than 55 clients, people are not going to come on a tray and tell you, please, Pooja, can you do this role? You have to go and tell not to your boss, but multiple people, I think I'm ready for this role. Subtly, then explicitly, but start with subtle. And don't only think that your work will speak for yourself. You need to speak for yourself. That's a mandatory thing.
Yes, that's right. So the third question is, women leaders are believed to be more transformational as compared to their male counterparts. What is the rationale behind this concept?
Women leaders are considered to be more transformational, right? Did I
Yes.
hear that right?
Yeah.
I think it is the data. So if you look at the time ever since Susan, who is the CEO of YouTube, ever since she took the realm of YouTube, I think 6 years back, she was able to actually improve the stakeholder returns, the profitability of YouTube. I would say stakeholder returns by around 40 times compared to the previous leadership. And she even improved the overall profitability of the company. Now, I may say that, in times are good, digital times are good, but they have also been in these successful terms. There have been times when YouTube was put in tumultuous situation because of questionable content, access to kids, and it also got generated a lot of bad media and bad press. So, what women leadership in not only from YouTube example, but several companies also have been seen is they handle chaos, these panic situations, what we call it, damage control really well compared to male counterpart. Because in males, there's a high ego which comes that I have to prove myself right. So I think it's not based on an assumption, Pooja. It's also actually based on very solid track records that the damage control part, women are able to do much, much better than their male counterpart.
Right, that's true. So we can take a few more questions. How women leaders can strike right balance between work and life?
I think the entire slide deck was about that, Pooja. But I think we have to increase one thing, which is the goodness in ourselves, the good vibes, and we have to reduce the second thing, which is guilty and guilt. I think we take a tremendous guilt as women that we need to be the caretaker, and I'm not talking about a child. I'm talking about parents also. Or there's a festival at home, I have to do it because it's my responsibility. See, it's nowhere written in the Shastras, mythology, that women are supposed to do this. I think it's over the years, because women were great multitaskers, it came as a intended JDJS, job description, job specification.
Mhm.
And I also feel that having these open conversations with your family, that your career matters. Most of the time, women pivot and women present their career as a source to make income. It is never a source to make a name for yourself. It's just income. Or, I don't have anything to do, so I do a job. Till the time we pivot, we position our jobs as a source to only make money, or as a source to only fill my time because I have a lot of free time, nobody's going to take you seriously. So start being more proactive and very conscious about the work that you're doing, and telling people that work is important to me. I think it starts from there.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ritima. Once again,
Thank you, Pooja.
yeah. Once again, I thank all the participants for joining our session today. We have received a lot of inquiry about the e-certificate offered by the HRAI. You can claim your certificate by sharing your details, which are name and session attended, in an email to the email ID provided in the chat window. Please ensure you do this by the end of this month. We will email the e-certificates to you based on the details received. Thank you, Ms. Ritima, for an insightful and intriguing session. Some of the key takeaways from the sessions are about the incarnation forms of Ma Durga, the qualities about the women leaders. That was very interesting. It has been a pleasure being with you today, and I'm sure our participants had a lot to learn and takeaways from the session. Before we conclude with our today's session, we would also want to thank our event partners, Geisha, NASCOM, COE, LinkedIn Local, Telgro, TLE, and WICCI for supporting these HRI events. To know more about them, request you to kindly visit the links provided in the chat window. Thank you once again, dear speaker and our participants, for joining us today. Do join us for our next masterclass by Ms. Malika Rao, mindfulness speaker, life coach, holistic wellness expert on the topic Women Humble Leaders, tomorrow on 30th September 2022. That's it from our today's webinar.
Thank
See
you,
you
guys.
soon.
Thank you for your time. Bye bye.
Stay safe, take care, and bye for now.